Hello and welcome to another edition of Bold and Beautiful Rewind. I'm James Lott Jr. here of JLJ Media, and we always have to go back in time and talk to people who are part of the Bold and Beautiful. And this person completely is a daytime icon from the Bold and Beautiful. He was on the show during he started the first year it came out. It's almost at 35 years, and he came on in October of 1987. That's just a few years ago, right? And he was on there as Clarke Garrison for years, and he also has done other things too, and he's doing some other stuff too. And he's talking to us from Italy. I'm so happy to have him on the show, Daniel McVicar. Hi, Daniel.
Ciao, come stai?
Parliamo in
italiano oppure preferisci inglese? We speak English, or which language do you prefer?
I speak Spanish. I don't speak Italian. Italian's close in some ways, but I don't know. I mean,
hola, ¿qué tal?
I like that. See, I like that. Okay, when you hear the show is going into its 35th season, and you were there close to the beginning, it started in March, but you came in October. How's that hit you? How does that hit you?
You know, it's been very interesting. Particularly this past year has been very interesting. I took my son to Los Angeles. I've got a 9-year-old son now, yes. And I took him to the studio of The Bold and the Beautiful, so that he could see why people are always talking to me here in Italy on the street. So he could really experience that. And so he got to see that. But it was also interesting for me because it was a visit to my past, a guy who went to Los Angeles very young with a big dream. And The Bold and the Beautiful certainly was my big break. It took me out of restaurants working as a waiter and into working regularly as an actor. And that's getting to be now 35 years ago. So it's really extraordinary. And even more because The Bold and Beautiful official channel this year, their YouTube channel, is showing their first year of The Bold and the Beautiful.
Yes, I know.
And so they got to my episode number 137 was my first episode.
That's crazy.
So I just posted it out on my Instagram. The very first scene where we see Clarke, we see him enter and talk to Kristen.
Yes.
And it was really cool to see that again.
So Clarke, when you look at your younger self, when you look at yourself on the screen, what do you think?
I say this kid's got potential, but
he's going places. He's going places. That's his kid.
Well, it's just, you know, there's certain things I know that the form of doing a soap opera, it's a particular form. It has a particular rhythm. So it's a different sensibility from doing film work or theater work, because you need to move in a certain way with the cameras, with the rhythm of the script. And so I saw myself doing that there, but also even from the very first day working in a certain charm that as the character was really being created before our eyes.
Right.
And the show in the first year was being created before our eyes. That was a very interesting time to be part of the show, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it was one of the last soaps that was created in the last 30-some years that's lasted also. A lot of the soaps that's the big four is the youngest. So it's
almost 35 years old now.
Right.
Which is quite amazing. But first of all, when I heard that they were doing a show called The Bold and the Beautiful, I said, there's no apologies here. The show is what it is. And so I said, oh yeah, that would be fun to do. I actually auditioned and tested for the role of Ridge.
Okay.
I've got a videotape to that test over here right now.
Oh my goodness, I love it. But no, of course, I know Ronn Moss. Love Ron. I love Ron. He did a great job as Ridge, obviously. But
Ron got the part because they wanted a prince. They wanted Ron, and Ron was a great choice for them. But they remembered the test, and based on that test, they created the role of Clarke Garrison. So that was it was custom made, like my suits were custom made for me there. But we saw from the first episode, they still hadn't made the suits yet. They were still kind of seeing how this character would fly. So I came in wearing my suit and no tie. They hadn't quite lit my face. They were still lighting my chest because they didn't quite get the height.
If you're like, okay, folks out there, you don't know this. He's 6'4", right? You're like 6'4", right?
Yeah.
That's tall and Hollywood. That's tall and Hollywood.
but actually, The Bold and the Beautiful has a pretty tall cast. The Young and the Restless has always had a lot of height in their cast. Bill Bell had, certainly Tom Selleck, who's 6'4", was on The Young and the Restless. So it was one of the places where a tall actor could work. Happy Days was not going to be where I would work.
How funny is that? Oh, interesting.
No, they wouldn't, because that was my time, was at the end of Happy Days. Actually, Joni Loves Chachi I auditioned for back. Yeah.
Remember that? Oh my God.
I did it, a saxophone player. I was going to be a sax player named Spider.
I love it.
Oh, because I kind of borrowed. There was a sax man named Spider in town, so I borrowed a little bit of him.
That's hilarious.
And actually, but Spider kind of talked like this, and I was doing Spider, and I was also imitating my geometry teacher, Mr. Robinson, who is African American. And so they told me at the end of the audition, "You're too black. You're too black person." Probably was.
Never called that before, right?
No, and I took it as a compliment.
Of course. I'm saying you never called that before. Thank you. That's hilarious. Okay. So let's go back for a second. Okay. Other place? Because I know you've done.
I'm having fun talking to you. This is cool.
This is hilarious, because I'm from that time period too. Okay, so you've done some other episodic TV. So what are some other shows that we would know of that you auditioned for?
Well, I think one of the things of note, and I actually just saw a little. I brought my archives from America here, and so I'm going through old photos and stuff. I played Rock Hudson in Liz B. Elizabeth Taylor story. And that was an interesting piece. In the past maybe 10 years, I've been doing European projects, different films, but that's always been an interest ever since I started to get my passport stamped thanks to The Bold and the Beautiful. I traveled to a lot of interesting places, and I got involved in kind of unusual projects. One of my favorite films is a Russian film called The Fourth Planet, which hardly anybody has ever seen. Wow. You can find it if you can spell it in Russian on YouTube, though, and it's all in Russian. I spoke Russian in the film.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I learned it in a painstaking way, but I was able to do it. My character was an American, so the accent was
stop right there, Daniel. Did you learn it phonetically? Wait, how'd you learn it?
Well, that was an interesting thing, because it was a full immersion project. I was with a completely Russian cast and crew. There was only a translator there for me. Other than that, everybody spoke Russian all the time, with a great director, Dmitry Astrahan of Russia. And so I would, because it's also a different alphabet. It's the Cyrillic alphabet. Yeah. So basically what I did is I took the original alphabet and I wrote it out. And then above that, I wrote it into a word for word translation. So because I wanted to think with the same words, the same way. And then below that, I wrote it in the phonetic alphabet. So I had 3 lines to learn every line. It's not like a soap though. We had less lines. It's a film. Yeah. So it was like here, Earth, atmosphere. They don't use transitive verbs in Russian. So this is Earth atmosphere that I was checking the control. So it is des zemnaya atmosfera, commander. Wow. So I remember that was the first one I memorized. So it stuck with me.
You know that line. I know that line. Yeah.
But anyway, but I've worked with Jacek Bromsky, a great Polish director. That was in English recently. One Way Ticket to the Moon is that one. A lot of Italian projects, and that I do speak Italian. It still is accented with an American accent. So I generally play an American in these projects here.
That's very cool. No, that's actually probably the coolest story I've ever heard. Because I know, I remember ABBA. Of course, they're back with a new album, but ABBA, I know, first learned phonetically how to sing in English. That was they didn't speak English at first, or the girls did at least, and then so they were.
And a lot of people learn to sing phonetically in Italian because opera is in Italian.
Yeah,
and
you're
so
right.
they'll learn that way. And the phonetics are a little bit different. The vowel sounds are a little bit different in each language, but that's as you get deeper and deeper into it. But first, you just sort of try to survive.
God, I'm sure. I mean, like, well, I would think that the being immersed in it fully does help. Because I've been to other countries where, like, once you're in that country, you kind of do pick up everything because you're in it.
Yeah, it's you pick it up that way. You also kind of get uh, desperate to hear your own language because it's comforting. Yeah,
But see, you're over there in Italy now. Is it
yeah.
just commonplace for you? Because you speak Italy, you speak Italian, they speak American. I know you speak English there too. So I mean, it's just normal for you now over
No,
there.
I'm not in one of the main like areas in
Oh,
Florence
okay.
where in Florence they'll speak English a lot. Here, that most people don't speak too much English. The younger generation does. Those people that speak English will want to speak English with me because they want to practice. But no, I'm operating here, uh, almost all the time in Italian. My 9-year-old son, though, when he's with me, I'm his English island. So he speaks English with me, and then he'll watch YouTube, gamer video.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, with an Australian named Laser Beam, and also typical gamer. I think he's Canadian. So in my house is the English language house.
Okay.
I'm divorced, so
Yeah.
when he's with me, we have the English island for him to live on.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Like I said, I know Spanish and a little bit of Dutch. I think it's great to know their language. I think it's just
Dutch, yes.
yes, my family's Dutch, so they're from Amersfoort. I learned certain words. I learned some of the bad words first, of course, and other stuff later. But it's one of those things. I feel like Americans don't have the same value of that like Europeans do, like countries do, where they like several languages. Like it's just good to know.
Well, I mean, I even from here from Turin, I'll drive in 30 minutes. I'll be in France.
Right. Right.
And they'll speak a little Italian on the border and stuff. But every once in a while I like to breathe and get into France and be in a different culture there.
So okay, so I'm gonna mention the Rock Hudson thing first. We'll get to the bowl stuff, folks. I promise. But because I am curious about this because you got to play. And so you played him.
I haven't spoken English for a long time, so it's really good to talk.
Oh yeah, good. I'm so happy. That's why he's doing it, folks. Just because he wants to speak English. That's why he's going to practice English.
That's why we're doing this.
Well, I mean, do you miss Los Angeles at all? On a side note, do you miss Los Angeles at all? Or
I miss Los Angeles. I miss my friends there. Certainly, it was great to visit in August. I just had a great time.
You saw our friend Casey. I love Casey.
Casey was so kind, and they were so kind.
Yeah.
I have to say, Casey organized it for my visit. He put my name on a parking place there, which I never had when I was on the show, but
now you're an alumni.
Alumni. I get the alumni spot. It's right by the door there. Near the electric charging bell stations.
Exactly.
And I just had a really wonderful morning. I surprised John McCook on the set.
Yes.
And so then my son and we spent about half hour with John in his dressing room after he finished shooting. I went out, hung out with Casey. I saw Ed Scott was producing that day.
Yeah.
I saw just a lot of the same people were working there. Some of the people had retired.
Yeah.
And then we went upstairs and hung out with Brad for a little while, and we talked, and it was just really wonderful.
Yes, I know your TV son McCain, so I know him. So I know a lot of folks. I mean, I work with both of you and interview a lot of their talent. So they're all nice. So they're all super nice over there. I mean, everybody.
Well, I worked during a period of over 22-year period.
I know.
On the show, I haven't done any episodes since 2009, but the character certainly lives in the public's memory, and in mine as well. But for me, the memory is more of it's my family. I mean, John McCook is my big brother in that way. I know he's the patriarch, but
I know, but
okay, Dad. He's Dad Forrester to me.
Yeah,
that's what Clarke used to call him. Clarke used to call him, "Hey, Dad Forrester."
Yes. Oh yes, okay. So Rock Hudson. Okay, so you played in the Liz Taylor story.
Yeah.
And of course, by the time you played him, there was a whole big thing about Rock Hudson. I mean, his whole persona had kind of changed a bit in the public eye once the whole AIDS thing happened and all that kind of, and the dynasty thing and all that happened. So what did you take away about playing him? What did you take away about Rock Hudson when you played him?
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, before I did The Bold and the Beautiful, I was waiting tables, and I was waiting tables in 1985, 1986, 1987 is when I started The Bold and the Beautiful. Rock Hudson died in 85 or 86
exactly.
Of AIDS, and he was the first famous person to have had AIDS and have it public. Although he actually sort of denied it to the end. I did a lot of research on him. Sure. I did that, and so, you know, but people were talking to me when I was a waiter, and they said, "We hope you're not offended, but we think you look like Rock Hudson."
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I said, no, I knew that AIDS was a big controversy.
Yes.
And so I wanted to play him, not because I looked like him, but because people thought I might be offended. That was my little mantra there. There was a couple of projects before. There was an ABC television film that was done with Thomas Ian Griffith, ended up playing Rock Hudson, but I was actually they were we were in the middle of making a deal on that with me. I had just started The Bold and Beautiful. There was also a project done by the producer of Roots, a 4-hour official one, officially acknowledged and supported by the estate, and that was for NBC. And that 4-hour project was going to be the better project between the two. Okay. And I rolled the dice, and I said I want to do the one at NBC. They ended up never doing the project. Okay. So and I had, I was already doing The Bold and the Beautiful. Yeah. So at the end of it, I said, okay, that's the part I missed. And then when the Elizabeth Taylor story came along, I said, Rock's got to be in the story. Right. So, we got in contact. I went in there, and it was really good to be a part of it, and really good to put my imprint on certainly his part of the story. In that one, there was Rock Hudson Young at the time of Giant. Yes. With Elizabeth Taylor, some charming, fun scenes with Sherilyn Fenn, and then we had the when he was in the wheelchair and on his way out, and we had a really lovely, touching scene there. So I got to do the bookends of that story within that Elizabeth Taylor miniseries. Yeah, I watched it. I saw it. I mean, I was a huge Sherilyn Fenn fan. I was a huge fan of her. So yeah, she was wonderful in the role. But you look that one, you're sitting in the makeup trailer, and you look down the line, and there's all the guys getting makeup, right? And you say, okay, which husband are you? Oh, that's right. Oh my God, that's right. Oh my God, yes. That's so funny. That's hilarious. I mean, but it's things. But what did you take away about Rock Hudson? You think all your research? Anything? Was there one thing that just stood out for you? Go, okay, Rock was this, or Rock was that. Well, and let me just I'll answer your question, but I also want to say that when we created the role of Clarke Garrison, and that was created certainly by the authors, and then I would act, and they would see what I was doing, and so it was kind of a combination thing with Bill Bell and his team. And Bill, I worked very closely with Bill. Bill was very generous with me and invited me to his office quite often, sometimes to scold me and sometimes to spend some time with me. But all of it was done with love. Yeah. And I really appreciate that from Bill. But I saw Clarke Garrison, certainly Clark Gable or Clark Kent. They were playing with that. Yes, yes. Right. And then the Garrison was certainly indicated more Gable there. Yeah. So I wanted to use like the classic leading man. Now, the classic leading man, who do you choose? I choose Cary Grant. Yes. Number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Then certainly Clark Gable, but also then Rock Hudson was like a new generation
He was.
of
He
that
was.
of that sort of light comedy. The guy who had substance, was tall, good looking.
Yeah.
Wears size 13 shoes. I've checked it out down there at the Chinese theater. We have the same size shoes. And so some of Rock Hudson's rhythms I was already familiar with, and his voice, he trained his voice to deepen it and to talk like that. He worked very hard there. So what I took away from that, with getting to play him, really was just the journey of a man who we didn't deal with in Elizabeth Taylor's story, his sexuality at all. That wasn't dealt with.
Right.
It was his friendship with Elizabeth Taylor. So for me, it was a chance just to see somebody who could do light comedy and have fun, because he was a joyful man, really. And playing him, certainly, because I researched and I was ready to play him across the board. There are lots of other elements to his life, but in that particular project, they weren't dealt with.
Yeah, that's very cool, because playing somebody, a character that you're creating, is very different than playing somebody who's already existed. Like, that's a very different thing.
Well, you certainly got to bring them to you, and I wore the same size clothes probably.
Probably.
Same type shoes for sure.
Cool.
In that sense, but I needed to stay out of Sherilyn Fenn's light, because when you're a tall guy,
yes,
the light comes from behind, and you can block your actress's light there often. So you learn to open your shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And let the light come by so that it can hit their face.
Oh, that's so funny. We were talking about light before the show. That's what you said. I'll tell you something. I guess because again, I mean, you are tall in compared to in Hollywood terms. I mean, I'm tall. I'm over 6 feet. Also, I guess we're considered kind of taller.
And Ronn Moss is tall.
Yeah,
Ron is about 6'2". John McCook's pretty tall.
Yeah.
Just
different lighting.
We all learned. Lighting, and how you either put them up on a box, or you. Ron's got a nice trick where he spreads his legs wide, and that lowers him down. So I can use that sometimes. But he had a nice trick because he spreads his leg, and then of course he goes down.
Yes.
But he's stable. And so that's from the waist up.
I have to tease Ron, but I didn't know he did that. So funny you did that. That's so funny.
Oh yeah, it's a good trick I learned from him.
It's funny. I call Ronn Moss whenever I see him the coolest dude in the room, because he's a rock star too. I mean, he's a rock star and a soap star. He has that jawline. I say you're the coolest dude in the room. Every time I say he just laughs when I tell him that. I think he is.
Well, yeah, he is Mr. Cool. So I'll get stopped in the street here, and then people sort of have this bold and beautiful category in their brain. So they'll say, Ridge. They'll call me Ridge, because I sort of enter into that general area.
Do you have that soap? You have that soap look too. Do you have that soap?
Well, I'm in the beautiful area for them. So they go, Ridge. I go, sometimes I'll just say okay, and sometimes I'll correct them and I'll say, no, sono più bello. I'm more handsome. Sometimes I'll correct them, and I'm handsomer than Ridge.
I like that. Okay, so we'll get to the actual character itself, but you bring up a good point. Bold and Beautiful is worldwide. It is an international soap. Out of the four, it's an international soap. So, and we already know, we talked about other shows, how you guys have gone to Monaco and Italy and Australia. I mean, I guess it's this whole thing. So that's obviously helped you build a career over there, right?
Well, it certainly was an entree. It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it'll block you because you're on a soap opera, and sometimes it'll help you. But that's the way it is. Those are things that are outside of your control. You just try to do new and interesting things and move on. It certainly gave me, because during the 90s, I had a passport that I filled, and the supplement I filled, because I was sort of an ambassador for the show.
Right.
And I went, all over Europe and into Egypt and Albania and India. I mean, I was I said, I was like, Will Rogers, don't invite me if you don't want me to come. I'll be there. And
I like that.
And I traveled quite a bit. In fact, I was just seeing pictures in my archives. It's really weird to see my archives. A trip that I took to Egypt in, I think, 1992 or 3. And because I was flown in a small Cessna between the pyramids. Yeah,
I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it sounds beautiful on some level, but I don't know if I could.
No, today you would not be allowed to do so. But I was with somebody who was from a good family there, we might say. And so anyway, he just said, "You want to go on a flight with me in my plane?" And so I said, "Yeah, fine." And so, but he flew us between the pyramids, between them. It was like crazy. I mean, I've really been blessed to have these sorts of stories as a guy who grew up in a small town in Colorado,
right, and
came to Los Angeles with a big dream. The show was certainly something that was a great place for me to work. It's still a very successful show. You know, people have done very well with it. The Bell family has done extraordinarily well with it, and you know, it's all good, and it still keeps going on. And you know, I just saw that Kimberlyn Brown and Sean Kanan are back on, and
they're back. Yeah, they've been on my show.
And
they're back. Yeah.
And it seems like that's a lot of fun.
Yes.
The little glimpses I've seen of that story, that's a lot of fun. So you know, everybody's working, and it's all a good thing. Nobody gets hurt.
I mean, but like for you bring up a good point. It's that, you know, dreams can't come true in this business, right? I've been in this business 14 years, and I'm doing some great stuff that I never thought I would do. And I think for you too, it's like you come from these places, these small towns or places, you think, I'd like to do that, or I'd like to have this, but you actually got a piece of it. You did have it. And I want to say this because I love the soap genre. I love the daytime genre. And so I feel like you had great success in this genre. It doesn't get always a lot of respect. Doesn't always get lots of respect. It just doesn't. I mean,
that's I respect it. I respect all the people. Really, any actor respects it. Yeah, because they all, many of them have done it.
Yes.
And they know how difficult it is. So the actors respect it. But at the end of the day, you know, it's work, and I wasn't waiting tables anymore. So.
That's right, kid. You're like, that's right. You're like, I get to draft it because I mean, for people to understand this, a lot of folks come to LA with this dream. There's thousands of people come to LA wanting to be a successful working actor. It's not always the case. It just, I mean, or you can work sporadically or here and there. Not everybody gets a series. You got a series. You got a series for years.
Yeah, I got a series, and I have friends who have had very successful careers.
Yeah.
But sometimes they were like in between jobs, and they're saying, you know, maybe it would be good to be. But you know, then they had another wave of work, and they're doing okay.
So Clarke Garrison was hired by Stephanie, the great Susan Flannery, to romance her daughter. But at the time, it was Teri Ann Linn at the time. But you know, you came on, but then, like I said, this character was created before our eyes.
Well, hired in just reviewing these first two episodes, because the second episode, number 138, has a scene with Clarke and Stephanie.
Yes,
where he just shows up at the Forrester house. She says, "What are you doing here?" And so, you know, I had Teri Ann Linn to work with at the beginning. Yeah. And those were always sort of romantic comedy scenes. And then, you know, I came in with that energy with Susan Flannery, and Susan was very generous with me. She was very tough, but very generous. And she saw that this kid has some potential, and she was always very kind with me there. And, you know, and playful. So I'm really grateful for that. And you know, but anyway, there was an arrangement made that he would get a chance to work at Forrester if he was able to take the daughter out and pull her attention away from Dad Forrester.
Yes.
That was the arrangement, because at the time Kristen was hanging around her daddy a little bit too much, and Susan, Stephanie didn't like that anymore. So she wanted to fix that. That was sort of the way to introduce a character that must have been cooking in Bill Bell's brain, because he wanted to do that. He was very good at making these characters, but also he saw something in the test that I did that he wanted to play with. My test, I used this. I kind of stole JR's smile in the test,
and
funny. So you see that in the very first episode, they had me go outside and smile. I didn't know exactly what it was all about. They didn't tell me. Yeah. But I gave him my best JR smile there at the end. And Larry Hagman stole from you. You got to steal from the best. At the end of the day,
that's what Larry Hagman always said. That he goes, see, people hated JR, but then he would do that smile, and they would go, okay, we forgive him, okay, or it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun ride, like, right?
Yeah.
So Clarke basically was saying to the audience, it's gonna be a fun ride. What you about to see is some fun.
And what I did was a little bit different from JR at the end, because it sort of evolved that way.
Yeah.
But I did steal from Larry blatantly, and I told him I was a friend with Larry. I'm a friend with his daughter, who I just saw at a wedding. We were at a wedding together just about a month ago, with Christine. Yeah. She used to be Heidi. Now she's Christine.
Oh, okay.
But who's a really talented artist, by the way. So Larry, I told him I stole from him. He says, good. Good. I'm glad for you. Because I had known him several years before I got the job.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, wow.
So, but with Clarke was a little bit different, because Clarke used to sort of be on the border. We never knew if he was going to be good or bad.
Yes.
He stayed. We kept him on the fence, and the writers wanted that, and so you never knew what he was going to do, which I thought made him quite watchable. Yeah. Certainly, there's charm, and there was a sense of fun that made him watchable as well. But I used to say he's a heel with a heart. He's a cad with a conscience. Those were my little phrases to use. Yeah. That was always interesting to me, is if you never knew what that character was up to. And I think it's interesting now for people to see the origins of the character, when he was involved with Kristen, and then Margot got involved because Lauren Kaslow
I know her
was
too.
Pregnant.
These are our lives, of course. I know her later.
Yeah, Lauren's wonderful. Yes. And Lauren was expecting a child and told the producers, and then the producers who's going to be the father? And somebody in the writer's room suggested Clarke.
Right.
And Clarke and Margot had never had a scene together.
That's so funny.
So in that case, Lauren and her husband Nick certainly altered the course of my experience on the show, because they had a great love triangle with Clarke and Kristen and Margot.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm talking out of school. I think Brad would be happy to say this. But when I was talking with Brad, he said one of his favorite scenes was when Clarke was showing Kristen the house that he was building for her. It was just a house he drove by, and he was improvising all the time. It was a house under construction, but it was during that whole thing, because he needed $100,000 for the house, but he really needed $100,000 to pay off Margot, and it was all this whole
shenanigans.
Fun plot. It was a fun plot, and so it was that part of the show, I think, that was how the character really got formed. However, even in the first episode, Kristen and Clarke talk about Clarke working at Spectra Fashions. Now, Sally Spectra didn't show up for a year and a half later.
Right, yeah, not till later. Yeah, not till later. Yeah.
But that sort of seeds were planted earlier, and then paying off a year and a half later. Very interesting how well written it was, how the weaving of the plots together was so beautifully done. It was like a beautiful a piece of fabric being made.
Ironically,
with yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
Okay, we'll get to Darlene and all that a bit. But I want to ask you a question to see if am I imagining this. I thought I saw chemistry between Stephanie and Clarke.
Well, my first screen kiss was with Susan Flannery.
Right.
It was great. I think for some reason the writers decided not to go that way.
Right.
They sort of toyed with that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And Clarke was always certainly openly flirtatious with her.
That's what I thought. I'm like, am I imagining that? That's what I thought.
No, it was there in the script, and it was part of it. And Susan, that was my first experience as an actor doing a kissing scene, was with Susan, and she was great to work with,
of course.
and very very generous with me. For that though, I think for some reason they didn't want Stephanie to go in that direction. That is something that they wanted to not go down that road eventually. But it was good for the introduction of the character.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you could clear it. I thought I saw it, and I thought, but I know they didn't go there fully. I was like, I think I feel like there's chemistry between those two. Like there's something just kind of, but
certainly. I think certainly whenever I worked with Susan, there was chemistry, and I think we always worked very well together. We always had a lot of fun together, and we even took from whatever the plot line it was, but also just my appreciation of her as an actress, but also her appreciation of me, that we were always able to have fun and work together well.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's go into the next phase you went into, and that was the Spectre phase, and
yes,
the enormously talented Darlene Conley, bigger than life.
There was no one. I mean, she passed away in 2007, early in 2007 in January, and there was no one like Darlene. Darlene created a character that was four-dimensional. Let's just say.
Almost five-dimensional, six-dimensional.
They're just. I mean, she lived that character as well. She really reveled in being Sally. Her outgoing message on her answering machine. Remember answering machines? Her outgoing message on her answering machine was "This is Sally. Please leave a message, darling." And so she created a character. She had a tendency to look in the camera.
Yes, I know that sometimes. Yes, we would see.
And so that's a good drinking game for anybody who's watching at home. Every time you catch her looking in the camera, you need to take a drink, and you will not make it through the show. But it's usually about 10 times is about the average. But so I used to joke like I joked with Darlene about this. I would say I've worked with animals, I've worked with children, and I've worked with Darlene Conley. So she was indeed a character, but the character that the audience just loved. She loved the camp of it. Certainly when Clarke moved there, or when that story grew out of what was Clarke's past,
right?
And then this tough lady was there, and Clarke was still working for her, and she was blackmailing him and having him beat up and all this sort of stuff.
Yes,
had him thrown in a dumpster.
Yes, I remember that. Yes,
I have the extended version of that fight, which never made the air.
Okay.
I have stuff in my archives. Yeah,
I love it.
Instagram. Everybody follow me on Instagram. You'll
tell them where. Tell them where to find Daniel McVicar. Right?
Daniel McVicar. Daniel McVicar. Instagram. My name on Instagram, but Daniel, not Dan. You'll find me there. And so are we still there? We're still there. Just a second.
You went out. There you go.
Yeah, it was just my battery was running low, but we still have enough time. We have 20%.
Okay.
And so the costumists, the sets, they started to go into sort of a film noir.
Yes, I see.
They had me enter wearing a hat. We were doing like film noir. John Zach, who was producing, loved to do this and take us in that direction. My lapels got bigger.
Yes,
I got baggier like Philip Marlowe suits.
Yes.
And certainly Darlene was,
Yes,
creating her character, her hair, the red hair was going. She went here in Italy to Milan to La Scala, and she's recognized. And of course, she doesn't hide under a hat. No, she had her hair like this.
Yes.
And so she's sitting down at the main opera house of the world, La Scala, and then there's somebody behind her complaining and about her hair. They can't see the stage. And so she goes, "Oh, darling, you're fortunate I didn't tease this up to the mezzanine."
I love her. Oh, I love her.
So that was somebody who really loved playing her role, created a character that there was nobody ever like her, for sure. For me, I was not always in agreement with that, to be honest. I thought that some of Clarke's fun that we saw in the first few years with Kristen and Margot, I thought some of that got lost because Sally was such an overpowering character. I felt sometimes like Clarke's balls got taken away and he became like a purse for her. That was how I was protecting my character.
Right,
because that's what an actor does.
Yeah.
But that's the way it went. She was a powerful force, and it kept things interesting for the public, and I was there playing the whole time. I loved the campy part of it. I loved when we did the film noir stuff.
Yeah,
I thought that was fantastic.
But was Sally the love of Clarke's life?
No, not at all.
It was Kristen, right?
Kristen was the love of Clarke's life. Yes. No, Sally was not. Sally was certainly a friend. Clarke was never in love with Sally. Never.
Right.
Never. That was in the script, and it was certainly in the way I played it. He was being used by her, and he was using her. That was their relationship. Certainly, they had a relationship where they worked well together and they were able to make things well together. They had differences in philosophy. Clarke was an artist, a real designer. Right. That was established from the very beginning. He was somebody who went to the Otis Parsons Institute in Los Angeles. That was part of the deal there. But that was part of the exposition early on. And Sally wasn't interested in art, was interested only in commerce, and in knocking off stuff was her way to get it done.
It's true.
So this way they were, like oil and water. But that's what made it interesting, I suppose.
I agree.
So in always defending my character, I always need to defend Clarke's artistic sensibilities, because he really was a very talented designer, and he had dreams of having his own company, and he was drawing Garrison Originals name on a building that he was dreaming about, and that was what he was all about. He was a very ambitious guy, and he made a deal with the devil to marry Sally for 2 years in order to have half a company.
Right. Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and that was and then Sally turned the clock back on him. He was caught with Kristen.
Yes.
With Teri Ann Linn, Kristen, and lost his deal. He couldn't have waited another day, just one more day.
No, of course not.
But he couldn't wait because he loved Kristen. For me, Clarke always that was his one true love.
Now it's funny though, but then they gave you another kid with Sally. So you have Marco here with Garrison with Margot, and now you got CJ. Were you shocked? Yeah, were you shocked by that?
That was at that point I was saying whatever.
I love it. I love it. It's soap opera. They do whatever they want. They throw stuff together.
And the baby's born, and then it had rapid aging syndrome.
Yes.
And then it was first Kyle Sabihi,
yes,
who was also played Billy Crystal's son
yes.
in the movie with De Niro.
Yes.
With
movie.
something this, not burn this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got and Kyle was there. I wonder where he is these days. And then they grew him up some more, and it was Mick Cain.
McCain. So that's right. But I think that was an interesting turn. He decided to do that. I'm like, okay, sure. This is how babies and at any age and do.
In soap opera, there's fast time and slow time. Things happen very slowly, and then at the same time, things happen very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of those two things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have one scene that will go on for 2 weeks. I remember Clarke's first child with Margot, and Clarke, Mark, young baby Mark was in the hospital with Kawasaki syndrome. Oh my God, it's all coming back to me.
It is coming back to you, isn't it? I love it.
So I was in the hospital with a sick baby, but we shot this for 2 weeks. And I was wearing the same chocolate brown suit.
That's so
because I remember this suit because I don't think I ever wore it again because it had too much airtime. And it was a chocolate brown flannel custom made suit. Yeah. It was very much a Rock Hudson style suit. And with Lauren, running out of tears after the first week, and we had another week to go. So, whatever works, whatever we can get it done, we'll make these scenes work. But that was one day on the show that took 2 weeks, and then a child will grow up, and in just another week they're 5 years old.
That's true.
So there's a fast time, slow time combination, but time is all relative anyway.
It's all relative.
Really.
Yeah. It is. Okay, so
really it is.
I can talk to you forever. So I got two last questions. I can talk to you forever. So I got two last questions.
We're having too much fun. We'll do another one sometime, okay?
Yes, we will. No, definitely. You're welcome back anytime. Okay, so my last two questions to ask you. One is, so make sure I get these questions out there. Okay, who is Clarke to you? To Daniel? Is he a brother, a cousin? Is he a evil twin? Like who is he to you?
He's not an evil twin at all. He's a friend of mine. He's certainly a character that I created. I can take him out of my pocket, whenever I want. He's maybe like that condom that you always keep in your wallet.
Yes, it gets makes a crease in the wallet. It makes a crease in the wallet. You had it for so long. Oh yeah, I know those. Yeah. I know those. Yeah.
Oh man, that hopeful condom in your wallet.
Yes.
This is something for the ladies in the audience. You don't know, but the guys carry around a hopeful condom in their wallet all the time.
All the time.
And by the time they get to use it, it's past the expiration.
Yes, it's basically what happened. But no, I know that one. Yeah, I know that one. I found the wallets with them in it. Yeah. Like it's dead.
But Clarke he's a friend of mine. I just use him on the stage. There's been a couple of occasions during the last 10 years when it's usually when he comes back to me is if like I'm at something and a lady wants me to help her with her dress, like I'm behind, I need to fix a strap or something. Yeah. And so because I did that sort of thing so much as Clarke with models and stuff, I just go, they say, can you help me? I don't know if you can. I said, don't worry, I'm Clarke Garrison. And then I go in and I help them with their dress.
That's so funny. Wow.
And then I put them back in my pocket and I'm okay.
I like that. That's what. Do you like Clarke? Does Daniel like Clarke?
No, I think he's a great character. It's really interesting to see the origins of Clarke on the YouTube channel again. No, I like him. I cheer for him. I think that he's really a character who stayed very interesting for me for a long time. Stayed very interesting for the public for a long time. I would encourage all the writers of The Bold and the Beautiful, Brad knows this stuff already, but those that weren't there in the first few years to watch his scenes in the first few years, because maybe they can use that stuff for another character and maybe not. But I thought it was very interesting what was created there within this particular genre.
Yeah.
He was a guy that you never knew what he was going to do. He could be good, he could be bad. He kept the audience on his toes. He would, when his back was up against the wall, he would improvise and be at his best. He certainly had a great sense of humor. Our rhythms for him were more toward, the old films where there was a lot more dialogue, and we had. I thought that my role was not to slow things down on the show, but to add a certain bubbly energy on the show. I saw that was my place in those first months on the show, in the rehearsal halls, watching everybody else do their scenes. I said, what can I do that can add to the rhythm of the show? And so I started doing that. That was also within the character. So, I like the guy. I used to joke, I like him, but I wouldn't trust him. But I'd trust him. I really would, because you know what he wants, and I would do business with him. I'd hang out with him. I consider him a friend.
I like that. That's a great answer. And lastly, this is kind of for fun. Are you into fashion? You play a fashion designer. Are you into fashion? Are you just like, I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy? Like, what? I mean, what are you into? Are you into fashion?
Well, I mean, I do still enjoy for myself, having suits made and things like that. I think that's always interesting. Although I tend to go now and wear the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
More Steve Jobs sort of deal.
Yes.
However, I certainly appreciate the fashion world, thanks to the show and just thanks to good fortune here in Italy. I've had the pleasure of, through the 90s, getting to know the great designers here. Gianni Versace, I knew, and certainly his sister Donatella, and Santo, his brother. I got to know them. I had great experiences at Armani, both the shows and at his house.
Wow.
That's for another show at a time. The Italian fashion world is really the standard for the world in terms of the Italian exports are food and design, basically. So being here in Italy, that's now sort of my nature to be exposed to that world. Back in Los Angeles, when I was creating the character, and I was visiting the local designers, and I wanted to see how these things worked. I was an actor who really took my research quite seriously and did all that I could to find out about this world, and so I learned to appreciate it. But for me, I'm comfortable and just wearing a good basic dark clothes, a good custom made needs to be well-fitting suit, and and long pants. I think a man should wear long pants when he goes out of the house.
You mean
if he's an adult?
You're not into shorts or quarter shorts or that kind of stuff? No, not into that.
Well, if you're going to the beach, it's okay. But if you're a tourist in Florence, no, you're a man, wear long pants.
I love it.
What are you doing wearing shorts around?
I love it.
That's what I have to say about men's fashion. Please wear adult pants.
I love it. Oh my God, Daniel McVicar, thanks for being on the show. This has been lovely. Are you wearing shorts right now or no? No, I'm actually wearing pants. I'm wearing pants.
Okay.
As I fall over. I'm wearing pants.
Sweatpants at home. It's cool.
Yeah, it was cold today. It's cold here in LA today, so I'm wearing sweatpants. So it's good. I'm wearing pants.
I'm not wearing pants at all.
And that's how we'll end the show. Follow him at Daniel McVicar. He's always on Instagram. He's always he responds to stuff. Thanks for responding to my message to you. I really appreciate it. Welcome back. You're welcome back anytime. We got more to talk about anytime. You can come back on.
Thanks. Okay. Bye, y'all.
And everybody take care of yourselves. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.